Listen, is you lot tired of getting crumped by the Humy Stompers on the tabletop? Well, don't fear, lads, cause I's got a few cunning plans as to how the Orks can beat these gits real easy like. So let me tell you how. Listen up, lads. Welcome back to the Daily Crumper. Today, I'm gonna go over the big scary tin boys of both the Imperium and the Chaos Varieties. Because these lads have been quite a menace in 40K as of late. So I'm going to tell you how they changed, and how they're big and nasty and currently a big menace in the game. And of course, I'm going to let you know how the lads can crump them good. So let's jump right into it. So, the big knights have changed, but in what ways? Some would say they changed for the better, some would say for the worse, some would say it's about the same. Well, let's see what they were. So, for an example, this is your basic Knight Paladin from Imperial Knight's Index version. See, it used to have a 10-inch move, it was toughness 12, had a 3-up armor save, 22 wounds, 6-up leadership, and 10 OC. So, how's it changed? Now, in the new version of their Index, because they haven't got their book yet, they stayed a 10-inch move, they've gone down, however, to toughness 11. Stuck with a 3-up save, but now they've got 26 wounds to compensate for the lower toughness. Still have the 6-up leadership, still have the 10 OC. And as for the mini knights, the armigers in this example, they used to be a 12-inch move, 10 toughness, 3-up save, 12 wounds, 7-up leadership, and 8 OC. Now there is a 12-inch move, toughness 9, 3-up save, 14 wounds, 7-up leadership, and 6 OC. So again, toughness down, wounds up, and in this case the OC went down a little bit too. So what does this mean? That means that, for toughness wise, a lot of things in the game are going to be better at punching through that big tin boy armor than they was before. For example, las cannons, which is your typical Humy tank punching weapon, is strength 12. Before, that would wound a big knight on a 4, but now that they're down to toughness 11, that means a wound them on 3s, which is a lot easier. But they went up in wounds, so even though it's easier to wound the big tin cans, you're still going to have to get more and more wounds through to be able to take them down, which is where you have the kind of offsetting toughness balances that people are talking about. If you're going to a big tin boy toughness 12, now they're toughness 11, that means really the only strength breakpoints that are going to be wounding them easier are going to be them aforementioned las cannon types that are strength 12, or anything that is strength 11, was before wounding them on 5s, but now they're wounding them on 4s. Now, there's also strength 6 weapons, which before would wound toughness 12 on 6s, but they wound tough 11 on 5s. But that's it. It's only those 3 breakpoints, 6, 11, and 12. Against every other strength point in the game, it's actually going to be harder to kill these big tin boys because of the extra wounds they have. And for the mini knights, similar deal. Anything that was strength 10 now wounds them on 3s. Anything that's strength 9 wounds them on 4s. Anything that's strength 5 now wounds them on 5s. But against everything else, those extra 2 wounds are now going to be harder for you to kill them. So overall, I feel like the knights have gotten a bit of a side grade because of that. If anything, it's probably more of a buff just because they're harder to kill against everything else in the game that's not those specific breakpoints. But other than that, they're still dead hard as always. But that's not all that happened. Alongside this big index transition where all the datasheets got changed, they also got massive points cuts across the board for both Imperial Knights and the Chaos Knights. As you can see here, Canis Rex, who was already a major player in all Imperial Knight armies, that git was so good that you would see him being allied in other armies that aren't Imperial Knights in almost every competitive tournament that you've ever been to for months now. As a result, he got points increases after increases, but then this index changes, and even though his rules didn't change and he's still a really big tough git that kills whatever it is that he wants, he got a 70-point cut down to 380, which is insane in my opinion. You have other ones such as their Knight Castellan, which is that bigger git with the big volcano lance and the big plasma weapon. It used to be 480, went down to 395, that's an 85-point reduction. The Knight Lancer, which is that big Forge World one that got released in plastic for the Heresy, that one was 425 and went down to 365, that's a 60-point reduction. Now these are all knights that you would very rarely see on the table already at their previous points cost, but nowadays even cheaper, means you're 100% gonna run these lads. And with the spiky gits, the Knight Desecrator was 400 points, went down to 335, that's a 65-point cut. The Rampager, which is the double melee, the chainsword, and the fist variant, that was 380, went down to 335 as well, that's a 45-point reduction. The Knight Tyrant, which is the spiky git version of the Knight Castellan from the Imperial Knights, again 480, down to 395, 85-point cut as well. And then the Knight Abominant, which is that weird Psyker tin boy with the weird flaily arm dealio, that was 365 and it's down to 325, only a 40-point cut, but the ability to run a Knight at 26 wounds, toughness 11 with a 3-up save and a 5-up invuln against range attacks for 325 points. That is cheap, lads. So cheap that you have weird nonsense like this. So, say you wants to run a Chaos Knight Spiky Tin Boy list. You can run an Abominant for 325 points, but not just one, not just two, 3 Abominants for less than 1,000 points. But then you don't stop there. You can run 1, 2 Desecrators, and a Rampager. All in one list. 6 big tin boys for 1980 points. You still have 20 points left over for an enhancement or something. That is a lot of meat, lads. That is 156 wounds at toughness 11, 3-up save, 5-up invuln. There's some armies in the game that just can't deal with that. That is so much. You're gonna have Gaz, Mozrog, all the lads working real big overtime to get through all them wounds. You found that many times over the 10th edition meta, you've had army lists come out like 30 Possessed in the Chaos Space Marines. You've had Mechs Thunderwolf Cavalry in the Space Wolves Index. These lists that just run these big, cheap, pointed bricks of meat that just run forward at your opponent and just try to stat check you. That's why people came up with the term stat check armies, because they just take cheap chassis that are hard to deal with for their points cost and have a lot of wounds and are very tough to kill and just run them forward at you. So now you have lists like this where you would think 6 big knights is a bit of a meme, really, that it wasn't very good. But with the new Chaos Knight book, this is a very good list. In some detachments, you can give that Rampage a melee git, vice first. You have the Desecrators with the big laser cannons that can just sit in the back and just fire down range with them big D6 plus 3 damage weapons hitting on 2s every turn. And you have the Abominants, which have their big 3 damage devastating wound cannons, as well as their ability to do mortal wounds in the movement phase to anything within 9 inches of them. So if you have 3 of them gits, they can just run on forward and do D3 mortal wounds to everything within 9 inches 3 times. In the movement phase, take any army in the game and say, take 3d3 mortal wounds in the movement phase. That's not counting anything else, like if I wanted to use that stratagem to stomp on you to do like a tank shock in the movement phase, because they've got that as a stratagem. Do all this damage to these opposing gits on your side before they even get to shoot or charge you. It's pretty zogging crazy, lads. So, how can the Orks deal with them? Well, how can we scrump them? Get stuck in. Them big tin boys, they got that 5-up invuln, but it's only against shooting attacks, lads. So if you get in there and start crumping them good in melee, they ain't gonna have that 5-up invuln save. And if when they're just stuck on that 3-up armor, even AP1, because they don't have any access to armor or contempt or anything crazy like that, so just smacking them with a bunch of high-strength chopper attacks, or even big choppers for that matter, if you have a large volume of them, should start chunking them down pretty easy. Next is that them lower toughness on them big gits really favor the lads' breakpoints in the Ork army. So there's lots of units in the Ork army that have specific strength breakpoints that can now affect them big tin boys a lot easier. First up's Beast Snagger boys. So as we know, them lads are strength 5 base versus the normal boys strength 4 base. So being strength 5 base already means that you're wounding them small knights on 5s now rather than 6s as we went on previously. But if you're on the war, then you're getting the +1 strength up to strength 6, which means you're wounding the big knights on 5s now as well. So couple that with their reroll hits against vehicles ability, and a beast boss if you throw him in there, means that nice little package of Beast Snagger boys at the boss can take down them big knights a lot easier now. Knobs are a good benefactor as well. Knobs are strength 9 base with their power claws, which wounds mini knights on 4s now instead of 5s. And on the wall go to strength 10, which will wound the mini knights on 3s. War bosses, strength 10 base, goes up to strength 11, wounds big knights on 4s, mini knights on 3s. And if you have ways of stacking strength buffs, such as the kill rig, giving +1 strength to a lad unit, or the get on with it order ability from the tactics brigade detachment, that can help them break points even more. Get them knobs up to strength 11, get the war bosses up to strength 12, and again with them lower toughnesses on them big Humi stompers, means that the lads can punch them up a lot better, which is good, because the Orks don't have a lot of very good ways of dealing with big vehicles. So having more options is always going to be better. And lastly, you can always swarm them with the lads. Lots of them big popular knights don't have a huge high volume of attacks. Like I mentioned, the Knight Lancers don't have a lot of attacks in melee, believe it or not. Them mini knights, the ones with the chainsaws, they only have 4 attacks if they try to do their big swings. They can sweep, of course, but it's going to be lower strength and only 1 damage, which means that you can swarm them with lots of bodies, either 10 packs of knobs, or 20 packs of boys, or even 10 packs of Beast Snagger boys. A mini knight is not going to be able to kill a 10-man Beast Snagger squad unless it gets really lucky. So if you're just running Green Tide, you can swarm them Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights with sheer bodies, as well as being able to take the objectives better from them, because the lower OC count on their mini knights, they've only got 6 OC now. That's only 3 lads you need to be able to get on the objective in order to contest it. So there's definitely a good argument as to running swarms of boys in Green Tide to be able to outmaneuver and overwhelm the big scary tin boys. The next time you lads run into them on the tabletop, use the couple tactics the old Crumper's been giving you, and you should be able to take them down no problem. Or if all that fails, wait for the data slate, cause I'm sure they're gonna get nerfed here pretty quick anyways. But with that, that's been the Daily Crumper. Quick one for you today. Signing off.